In the early 1990s, a group of Army sport divers grew frustrated with the limited diving opportunities available in Germany. With the assistance of the Hydrographic Office, a systematic survey of the seabed in the Kiel area was conducted. After 18 months searching, the first wreck was discovered, eventually leading to a number of other discoveries. Buoyed by this success, it was decided to venture offshore in a chartered boat, and the first expedition was mounted in 1995. Building on the lessons learnt from that expedition, and armed with more information from the Hydrographic Office, preparations for exercise GRIEFSWALD Dragon 1997 got underway.
Okay, without flogging too much into the details of this place, and you've had an arduous journey anyway, what I'll do now is hand over to Steve Roberts, and he will take you through the technical aspects of what we're hoping to achieve next week. Steve, please.
Good morning, gentlemen. The aims of exercise GRIEFSWALD Dragon at Bleak Diamond are to locate specific wrecks, to update the British Hydrographic Office's records, and use instrumentation such as magnetometers, GPS and echo sounders to locate these wrecks. The general overall plan is that, okay, tomorrow we will leave Kiel, drive into GRIEFSWALD via Rostock. There we will board the expedition ship, the Baltic. We will then board the ship with all our equipment and attach the rib to the back of the ship for towing. We will then sail through the night all the way to the Cypriot freighter, which lays 2 miles off the Polish coast. I believe this is the furthest service sports divers have ever dived. Once then, we'll move into ship's routine, which will be sailing through the night to the next dive area, where the away team will leave the ship at 0630 hours each morning to find the designated wreck. Once back, they will have breakfast, and the first wave will go out and dive the wreck. Moving up to Bornholm on day 2 to find 3 wrecks: the Vulture, a Zulu-class submarine, and the Corona. Day 3, we move up between Denmark and Sweden to the Odin and Knipler. Day 4, we dive the 2 deep wrecks of the expedition, the Tinder and an unknown wreck. Day 5, we then move to dive the Gertrude and another unknown wreck, having a day spare if we're blown out by bad weather or we find that we want to dive one area twice. Return to GRIEFSWALD on day 7.
After the exercise briefing, the day was spent preparing equipment, including fitting the UK-supplied magnetometer to the Germany-supplied rib. Everything worked well, with the exception of the rib trailer brakes. Fortunately, a little loving care with a sledgehammer from Steve Roberts resolved the problem.
So what do you think of the disconnect? There's an end on that cable? Yeah, it's a case of make sure that no more gets injected all the way, so you have the visual squeeze about
Oh, right, okay. Right, what we thought we'd do is go for a single battery option.
Yeah.
Right, the whole thing off 12 volts.
Yes.
If we have a problem, then we go for the more complicated.
Yes, yeah, that was good.
So what we need to do now is,
The following day was spent in convoying all equipment and the rib to GRIEFSWALD in the former East Germany to meet up with our chartered ship, the Baltic. The quantity of kit carried meant that 5 vehicles and 2 trailers were required in the convoy. The Baltic was built as a survey ship and has been converted for the needs of divers, with a compressor and recompression chamber on board. The ship had been used in the 1995 expedition, and the crew quickly made us welcome again. A degree of interest was raised by the quantity and variety of electronic equipment, diving gear and catering supplies carried aboard. All equipment was quickly loaded, and the rib was launched and rigged for towing behind the ship. As the sun set at the end of a sunny day, we headed out to sea, straight into the teeth of a rain squall. We woke on Monday the 12th of May to find ourselves anchored close to an isolated danger buoy just off the Polish coast. Our research had suggested that the wreck we were looking for was some 400 metres away from the buoy. The research proved to be correct, and the away team found and buoyed the wreck within 13 minutes, a record never beaten during the rest of the expedition. Divers were quickly kitted up for the dive. Work with the Hydrographic Office had identified the wreck as a 1,600-ton Cypriot bulk carrier sunk in 1980 after reporting leakages in its hold while in transit from Gdansk to Brest. Everyone appreciated the opportunity to dive on a virgin wreck. Descending the shot line to the seabed at about 20 metres, we found the ship upside down and broken in half, but still some 8 metres proud of the bottom. There was no evidence of a cargo of sulphur known to have been on board when the ship sank. Buddy pairs spent some time surveying the wreck, including cautious penetration in places. While preparing for penetration, Nick Rushby took the opportunity to discard his expensive dive torch on the seabed. On this dive, we were able to log a record, the furthest east in the Baltic for a military sport diving expedition. Tuesday, the 13th of May dawned with the Artebecker at anchor near the Danish island of Bornholm. The rib's electrical circuits had been causing difficulties since lunchtime on Monday, and the opportunity was taken to repair them in Bornholm. Without the rib, we dived from the Artebecker on the wreck of a Russian Zulu 4-class submarine to the west of the island. This 90-metre-long submarine sank in 1989 while under tow towards Naskov. Descending the shot line to this wreck was a breathtaking experience. In the 20-metre plus visibility, the submarine came into view shortly after leaving the surface. The wreck is well preserved and sits upright with a slight list to starboard at 38 metres. Overnight, we sailed westwards to Swedish waters to the site of a Knippler, a 500-ton Swedish sugar carrier sunk by mine in 1916. We descended onto the seabed with metal ribs and wooden decking marking the outlines of the ship, but little superstructure remaining. The wheelhouse, standing some 2 metres proud of the 10 to 15 metre seabed, and a large anchor were quickly identified, as was a single 4-bladed propeller. On Thursday, we sailed to the site of a deep wreck, mysteriously noted as unknown by the Hydrographic Office. After a series of failures to find wrecks at previous sites, we cross-referenced all available information on this wreck. Piecing together details from the chart, Hydrographic Office printouts, and recent German notices to mariners, we marked the chart as accurately as possible. As luck would have it, the Arthur Becker's echo sounder picked up the wreck as we sailed right over it on reaching the search area. On arrival at the site, the wreck was quickly buoyed and the decompression bar with spare emergency air cylinders was deployed. This dive was to prove to be the highlight of the expedition for most people. As we descended the shot line, a massive freighter came into view. The 20-metre plus visibility revealed a 90-metre long freighter, upright on the bottom and well preserved. The shot was sitting in one of the wreck's open holds. Using this as a reference, all pairs swam into the current towards what proved to be the stern of the vessel. Much of the wreck was shrouded in discarded fishing nets. Once on the surface, we tried to piece together a coherent plan of the vessel. Everyone had a different story of what they had seen, and it was difficult to gain an overall impression of the wreck. By 8 o'clock on day 5, we were back on site to try to identify the source of a large echo leaking that we thought might be the bow section which had sheared off from the ship's head.
We found a missing bit of wreck. Yeah.
On this dive, our attempts to sketch a plan of the wreck proved useful, and a considerably improved plan was produced at the end of the dive. Unfortunately, we were unable to discover any indication of the name or origin of the wreck, which remains unknown. During the course of the day, the weather had gradually worsened, and after recovering divers, the Arthur Becker ran for shelter of land. We prepared for the onward journey home amidst fond farewells and the chance to check all kit was accounted for.
Who's got the last cassette?
Ik wijs het Nick. Come on, which one of you dirty, rotten, stinking scoundrels has got Steve's cassette?
I'm amazed it still plays after being down at 30 metres.
Morning again, gents. I cannot believe it's a week ago that we last sat here planning our expedition. Nothing more for me to say. I'd like to bring Steve back on again, repeat of last week's performance. What did we achieve, Steve?
Well, I think the expedition itself was a tremendous success. We achieved the aims we set out to. We found the wrecks, or 50% of the wrecks we were looking for, and we got to use all the instrumentation that we brought out to find these wrecks. Day 1 was the Cypriot freighter off Poland, which we found, and we dived twice. Very good condition, upside down, half of it, and the rest had broken in the centre. We then moved on to Bornholm, where we tried to find the Vulture, which we were unable to, and we moved up then to dive the Zulu class sub off Ronner. This day we also had difficulties with the rig where it broke down, and we had to go into Ronnie to get it fixed. This only allowed us time to find the Corona, not to dive it. Day 3, we moved up to Denmark, between Denmark and Sweden, where we looked for the Odin and the Knippler. The Odin we couldn't find, therefore we moved on and dived the Knippler, which we all dived. Day 4, we moved down to dive the 2 deep wrecks in the 45 metre region, the Tinder and an unknown wreck. The Tinder we couldn't find, and therefore went on to look for the unknown wreck about 5-6 miles away. We found that, and turned out to be a massive freighter, 13 metres beam, over 100 metres in length, and sitting about 4 or 5 metres out of the bottom. Brilliant dive, so good we actually stayed there overnight and dived it again the second day. We then moved, on the second day, we then were going to dive the Gertrude and the unknown wreck over here on the next day, but sadly gales hit the ship then and we were forced to run to cover, and they didn't relent and we had to return to GRIEFSWALD a day early. But apart from losing the 1 day which we had set aside for bad weather, 50% of the wrecks were found, the aims were achieved, therefore I think the expedition was a success. There we go.